All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back. Um, if you have attended any of these Canva workshops previously, or welcome if this is your first one. This is Canva Print Marketing. This is the fourth workshop we have done for Canva in the past month. We've been doing them weekly. And these are recorded and on the Plano Public Library YouTube channel. So if you missed any of the other classes, or if you have to duck out of this one early or just want to recap, it'll be up on our YouTube channel. This one in particular by the, maybe not the end of this week, but maybe early next week, just with the holidays. But the other classes are already up there and ready for you to watch as you need. As you can see on our screen, you are muted, so if you have any questions at all, please use the chat box, and we will try and answer your questions as we go along. Again, today we're going to talk about print marketing using Canva. So Canva has a lot of templates and all sorts of other neat tools that you can use to make flyers, posters, business cards, brochures, pretty much anything you could ever want to print for your personal life or your business. And Canva even has printing options, like printing service through the application, or of course you can save files and work with any printer or vendor that you would typically use. Completely up to you, but I'll show you what that looks like anyway. These are some examples of some print marketing we'll look at today. We're continuing on the theme of our fake business, Brouhaha, a coffee and tea shop. And some examples just on the screen here from left to right. We have a business card and a label for a pastry. If you haven't had blueberry buckle coffee cake, it's pretty tasty. A flyer for an event, and then what a possible tote bag could look like. So these are just a few ways that we have used Canva to make print marketing materials that we'll go through and we'll go over and look at. So let's pull up Canva. So of course, this is what Canva looks like when you log in. And this is just your main dashboard with everything you could possibly need on it. Let me show you a few things real quick, of course. We've mentioned this pretty much in every single session, but Canva has a lot of templates available, and that's on the left-hand toolbar, the word templates, which we'll click in just a minute. You can also see in this big purplish blue box right in the middle, there is another button that says print products. And so when I click on that, it's going to show me some popular print products that they have templates for, whether it's postcard, a flyer, sticker, some product placement like tote bags, water bottles, just a variety of printable items that they have templates already available for. They have some information about their printing services that we'll go over later. And then they just have even more options that you can kind of look at here. What these will do is open up a blank version of a newsletter, a business card, a flyer, what have you, in a particular size. So if you're looking for inspiration or you're not entirely sure how you want something to look, that's where the template on the left-hand toolbar comes into play. So I'm going to click on that. And there's a few different ways to look at different print materials. You've got, under business, you've got planners, letterhead, invoices. It really just depends on what you need printed. You can see invoices. So templates is where you want to go if you're not quite sure of the layout you're looking for. Even under marketing, you've got business cards, you've got different look and feel for a bunch of different business cards you can play around with. Same with flyers, posters, brochures, menus. These are all a great place for you to start if you're not quite sure what you want it to look like or even what a layout could look like. Maybe you're trying to switch something up or you're just trying to get inspiration. See where you can start. So I'm going to go to menu, see what those look like. So you can see different menus, different font options, photos, graphics, all sorts of, it's a great place to start. cards and invitations even. So these are all printed materials. There's a lot. It may feel overwhelming, and I can understand that, but it's also just a fantastic place to begin. You can also, under all templates, they have another button for print products. And so you can see even more in a single area instead of trying to figure out which drop-down menu to look in. They'll give you some ideas, some popular items, maybe something that's new. They'll have all sorts of things for you to look at here. So what I want to show you today is I'm going to go back to our home screen. And I'm going to go to our project folder. That's again on the left-hand toolbar. And like I've talked about every single time now, the importance of keeping your content together in folders so it's really easy to find. So I've got our Brouhaha business here. And I'm going to show you. So these are the printed items I had up on that slideshow. So I'm going to pull up this flyer real quick. And I am literally just clicking on them, and that's how they open. We're going to zoom in. So the editor for any printed material looks very much the same, if not absolutely identical to the editor you would have for a social media post or pretty much everything in Canva. It looks identical. So a lot of the same buttons are in the exact same place, whether it is file, making sure you've saved it. Now it should auto save, but it never hurts to click save again. Renaming it, that is again up at the top. In terms of saving the file as a separate file, it's again under share and download. All of that should look identical to how we've been using this the past few weeks. You of course have your editing space here, your canvas. And you have all the different pieces that we've put onto this fake flyer here. And again, on your left-hand side, you have a lot of different tools to play around with. And one of the first ones is design. And so this is where those templates come back into play. So this is a flyer, a blank flyer template that I use to start with. And you can look through their inspirational templates that already have content on them as well. You can do that through here or in that template button on the left-hand toolbar. Lots of ways you can look at it because be like, oh, I like how this looks, but what else is there? And then you can, pull up another one and be like, oh, I really like the look of, let's pull one up here. We'll do save the date. So when I clicked on it, it's going to ask if I want to replace the current page or if I want to add a new page. And I definitely want to add a new page because I want to keep what I had already. So these are all still here, and I've just added this. So when you're using a template like this, all of these little features you can edit. You can keep or not. So this looks like it's just an image on the background. And to keep in theme with what we've talked about the last few times is that whatever graphics and designs you make should look like they belong together. When I had all of these up, you can tell they all belong together. There's a common logo in every place. The font is the same. The colors are very similar. You can tell they belong together. If I have this flyer here along with this one, it's going to look a little disjointed because it doesn't really look the same. It doesn't have the same information. It doesn't have the same font or colors or branding or anything. So that's an important feature to have in your materials is you want to make it look like it's your business and what you would normally put out. So while the background is cute, I want to look for something that's going to be a bit more coffee shop-esque. So again, I want to look for the content that Canva provides. And in that Elements button on the left-hand toolbar, I can look for a whole host of things, including graphics, video, and photos. So I'm just going to look around, see if there's anything that I like that I want to make sure is on this flyer. And let's see, there's a lot. As you can tell, there's a lot of options here. And one thing to note that I think I've noted each time is that this is a professional team account. So the account that we're using is a paid for account. And so there are some extra features if you have a free account you might not have access to, or that you would be paying for separately. And that's for you to decide what plan you want to access these features. But it's really easy to tell what you have access to because of the little crown and the word pro on some of these graphics. That means I can use them because this account is already a professional account. So when I click on them, I can use them and I won't have any issue using them for whatever I need them for. So just want to make sure that's all still pretty clear. I'm actually going to just delete that background because I don't want it. And I can click and drag to select all of this. I can move information around, just like we do in the social media posts, even in video. Click and drag, move it around. And you can see when I'm dragging it around, this purple box showed up around the whole edge of the page, and that's like a print margin. So that's saying that if you printed this out, anything in this square is in a safe space in that it won't be cut off from the printer. I just noticed that I forgot this little letter here, but I'm pretty sure it was about there. So I'm just gonna put it back. So you can see when you snap things into place, when you move them around, those little boundaries will pop up. The same thing will happen if you're wanting to center it somewhere. You'll have bars that show up to help guide you where you want to be. So I'm going to leave that down there for right now. And I like the idea of a save the date. I think that sounds really nice. And if it's a coffee shop, maybe it's brand new. I sort of made a grand opening flyer here, but it feels a little busy. So let me see if I can rework that on this new flyer. So the first thing I want to do is I've already changed out the graphic, but I want to change that background color. And because we have a brand kit that we set up on our first class, I have all of these colors here that fit along with my brand. And I'm going to go with the lightest one. That way everything is very legible and you can see it. And I can select things, I can delete things, I can adjust all of this that I want. And the first thing I want to adjust is the font. So when I selected this box, up here on the top toolbar are all of your editing features for this text box. And the first one here is the font chosen. And the one I want is this Essays 1743, because that's part of my brand kit, which you can see here, where it says brouhaha. Immediately change that. And it also is bold from the previous font. So I'm going to unbold that. That's what that B stands for. A lot of these tools here are going to look very similar to anything you'd see in Word, Excel, anything like that. You'll have a lot of the same buttons that you would see there, which is really nice because you don't have to think about it. You have likely seen them and already know what they mean. I want to make this text box a little bit bigger, so I can click and drag to make it larger, and I want to put it in that boundary that we talked about, that safe printing margin. So right now the font is just a little too big. So right here where those numbers are, that is your font size. And I'm going to try that. Perfect. Now it fits nicely. And I'm going to delete these. I like it all on one line. I think that looks nice. The other thing you can do here is they're really spaced out. And what you can do to change that is there's a spacing tool that when I click on it, there's one that says letter spacing. And I can drag them so that they get a little bit tighter together. You don't want it too tight because then you can't read it. So you still want some legibility. Just tighten it up a smidge. Not too much, but a little bit. Speaking of legibility, all of this is really tiny, even if you print it out. It is a 12-point font, so it's completely legible. It's just, I want this information to be easily seen. If I have this flyer pasted on the front door of my business, I want someone to be able to see that information really quick. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We'll go with, if it's a grand opening and it's a coffee shop, we're going to start bright and early. We'll do 7. We'll go for a few hours. Why not? And I want to change it to one of my brand fonts. That way it is all in line. And it looks like we have some capitalization going on. So this little ... here has a few more tools you have access to. And one of those is uppercase. So when I click that, it's going to change those, the AM and PM. They were just, the uppercase was selected, so they were capitalized, but I don't actually want that. And now, since I've changed the font, I've changed the capitalization, I want to change the size. Make it a bit bigger. That's just a line, which I can still make bigger too. And we're going to do the same thing here that we just did to this time. We're going to change the font, change the information, and put it in line where I want it. It looks like it's bold. Go with and let's see, that one was 24, so we want it to look the same. And then I can just click and drag it into place, and you can see these guiding lines pop up. When it's lined up, the text of the date with the text box of the time, you see those like little grid lines that have popped up, so that they are lined up all in one line together, which is really nice. Another way you can make sure that happens is under File. You can, under View Settings, show rulers and guides. So a ruler will pop up on the top and the side. And if you have your mouse here, you can click and drag down a guide, which is really nice. And you can be like, I want the font to line up, the text box to line up with this line. So now this line is here, but this line will not print. It is purely a digital helping tool. It will not be there when you print it out. So you don't have to worry about that. But this helps me know that these are lined up nicely. And then I just want to make sure that they are spaced nicely. And then I can click and drag them around and make them on the center of the page. And then any other information I want to include. I will do that as well. There's just all sorts of different editing you can do. Lots of choices you can make, which can be, it can be daunting, I understand. There's lots of options, which is good and bad, pros and cons of both. Like, oh, I want that a little bit bigger. That one's 88. We can make it probably the same. Nah, a little too big. So now, I'm gonna actually put that back right where I had it. It works out that way. One thing I want to make sure is that these are the color that I want. So I've got my brand colors. I want to keep in line here. And I'm just selecting the box and then this A with a color bar underneath it, text color. And I can choose the colors I want. And I can do the same with all of this as well. Same with that line. So it's all the same color. Right now, like there's still a lot of space here. I could include more information about like what I did up here, about what they might have at the event. So I'm actually just gonna, I can copy and paste because I don't need to recreate the wheel here. And it will tell you that how you can do that. So there are shortcuts using your keyboard to paste. I'm just going to do that. Might be that I actually still like these graphics. I mean, this one's cute and all. I think people would want to know what's going to happen at the event. So I think that's a really good idea. And I found these little graphics the exact same way I was showing you earlier. I just typed in what I was looking for under the elements section and found just different graphics that I think really tied into what I was trying to say. So I think that's really nice. And if you don't actually need this guide anymore, when you hover over it with your mouse, you can click and drag it all the way back up to the ruler and get rid of it. That way it's just out of sight. You don't have to worry about it. So I really like how this looks right now, but I need some information about where this event is happening. I think that's just as important as when. So I'm going to add a text box. So you can easily do that. You can copy and paste the text box you already have. That's one easy way to do it. Or I can go to the text button here on the left, add a body of text that is already in the font that I want because it's part of my brand kit. You can see that label up here where it says Brouhaha. That's my brand kit. And I'm going to make sure, again, that's the color I want. And then I'm going to put the fake address. I don't even know what my fake address was. Should be that. And that's already centered, which is really nice. It makes me realize that this might be a little small, so I'm going to make it match the size of the address. So again, I want this legible. I want people to be able to see it really easily. And of course, you can zoom in. You can work a lot closer to your work if you want. I'm going to make sure this is centered on the page. Which looks like it is. Back up just so I can see it all at once, see what I like. And then I want to throw my logo on there somewhere. So on the left-hand side, I've got my branding information or even just the logo button here. And I can click on it and pull it up. And I can just slap it wherever I want. I think on the bottom will be really nice because hopefully when they're looking at my window or wherever I have this posted, this will tell them, or I could even have it up here next to the date and location information. And I can always click, I click and drag, select, move things around. That's one great feature of Canva is just the ease of moving things around. If you're like, you know what, I don't really like how that looks, or, oh, I want to move this around. I want to see what this looks like in a different location or a different color. It's super easy. It's a fantastic tool that way. And we're going to move that down a smidge. So this is a very, very simple flyer, but it's also very to the point. We have a grand opening. Here's when, where, and what's happening. Very, very simple. You can do much more than this. You can do less than this. Like this is a bit more, this one up here, which one feature of Canva is to make QR codes with links. QR codes definitely made a comeback in the last couple of years. They're incredibly handy in terms of getting people to your website or RSVPing, whatever you need them to do. This is a fake QR code. It doesn't actually go anywhere, but it was just to use as an example for you. And it's a handy tool to have on here. And one way you can do that is under Elements again. I'm going to type in QR code, and then it asks here, add a URL, and they'll create a QR code for you. So you can use it, and it's part of Canva. It's not a separate entity. And whatever your URL is, whether it's your main website, a Facebook event link, an Evite, whatever it is, you would just put that URL in, and it generates a QR code for you that makes the little image like any of these, and you can put it on your materials. So it's a handy tool to have, and I'm glad it's part of Canva's repertoire now. So we've made a very simple flyer, and I want to print this out to put it on my front door. I want to print out a few copies to maybe have at the next chamber event or whatever the case is. So there's a couple ways to do this. Like I mentioned earlier, Canva does have a printing service. And so when you're using any of these templates that they already have set up for you, they know you're going to want to print it because it's a flyer. Of course, you want to print a flyer. It's a business card. Of course, you want to print your business card. So in the top right-hand corner, they have a button that talks about printing. And it'll give you information about, it'll ask you which ones are you wanting to print. And we'll just choose, the front is that one we've just made. The back, I don't want anything. And you can choose all sorts of different information. And if I recall, I can't remember which printer they work with, and it might be that you get to choose places like FedEx or Staples, things like that are what that this will go through. And you can choose your paper type, your finish, and how many you want, and it'll give you a price option. It's completely for you to make a decision on if you were going to use this or not. If you have your own printer, like in your office, at home, at the library has printers too. We don't have different paper choices or anything, just know that. You can just save the file and then print it. So under Share and Download, because this is a flyer and I want it to print, there is a PDF print option. So PDF is a pretty standard file type you would see for documents, especially ones that may have some graphics on them or that you don't need anyone to edit or anything. I want to print it. PDFs are also really good if you want to send via email. It's really handy to have. So like we have in the past classes, I want to make sure that I'm selecting the one that I want. And I just want this third one that I've made. It also happens to be the current page. And you can choose a color profile. If you're just going to be sending this digitally, this is red, green, blue is what RGB stands for. And then CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It can't be B because that's what the blue is. And it talks about how that's best for printing. So up to you which one you choose. It depends on what you're using it for. And then you would just hit download. And again, it's going to have that progress bar that tells you that it is in the process of downloading. And it has downloaded. So now we have our flyer here. Granted, because I am in Firefox, it pops it up a little bit differently. But then you would just print it however you would print any normal document using your computer and your printer. So in this case, I could hit the little printer button here and I could send it to the printer that I have available. And that is completely up to your technology and what you have available. Of course, if you use outside services like the library or any other printer, they'll have other settings and systems in place, but pretty standard, print button that you'll see on everything. You just have to save the file in order to do that, as opposed to using their print service. So if you use the print service, you don't have to save the file separately. At least that's my understanding of how their print service works. So one thing I also wanted to show you is back here. I haven't really played around with this in these classes yet, but I had made some social media posts back in our second class about seasonal drinks. So the template that this is on is ideal for a Facebook post. You can tell there's much smaller and it's for a digital social media post. But because I like the information that's on here and I don't want to do too much extra work, I can resize this into a printable object. So I want to click on this resize button here. This is a professional tool. It's got that little crown next to it. And I want to choose, likely it's going to be 8.5 by 11. That's a standard piece of paper. But it kind of depends on what you're using. Maybe you want it as a poster, you want it bigger. That's completely up to you. You could have it as a postcard size if you're handing them out. They have lots of options, again, for you to choose from. I'm just going to go with letter because I know that's a standard size piece of paper that I want to use. And then I'm going to choose copy and resize. Yes. Okay, try that again. It's blocking me. I want to allow it to happen. So let's try it again. One more time. There we go. Sorry, pop-up blocker. Okay, so it just took these Facebook posts that we had made a couple weeks ago and has then resized the information as best as it could into a letter-sized piece of paper. So now it's up to me to adjust as needed, but adjusting the size of the font is super easy compared to remaking this entirely. So a lot of it's just going to be dragging it around so it's in the right spot first. And I'm also going to probably adjust the size a little bit because I want people to be able to, if I printed this out and put it up on the front door, or I have it just right at the register, I want people to be able to read it really easily so they can make a decision. And again, it's a lot of select, drag it over. And because on this Facebook post, it's not a lot of room, I had to really compress what I had on there. I've got a lot more space. So what I want to do is add a little bit more room in between each of these. And then I can do the exact same thing with this one. I can actually make them a little bit bigger. So again, legibility is important here. I want people to be able to read this and make a decision really quickly. Like, oh, yeah, that does sound really good. These could also be separate text boxes. You don't have to make it all in one. It worked out for the Facebook post, but you could always adjust based on the need at the time. So that's pretty easily done. I'm just gonna move that to the center. That's it. Super easy. That resize tool, they've only had that the last few years. It wasn't originally part of Canva, and when they added it, it is a game changer. It is such a time saver. Just think, you can put, a dozen Facebook posts together. You could make your menu out for the entire year. And then with a click of a button, a few adjustments, now you have a printable that you can have that matches it identically. You've done little work and you're getting double the amount of product at the end. It's fantastic. What a time saver. And I'm going to make sure I relabel this. That way I know. And then again, if you're wanting to print it, you can get them printed through their service, or you can save the file as a PDF, and then you can download it and print it using your own printer. Completely up to you. But I want to make sure this saves into the folder that I have for all these printed materials. So under File, I want to save to folder. I'm going to go to My Projects. I've got Brouhaha right there, and then Brouhaha Print. That's just where I've been saving any printable items like that. And then I just hit Save, which means when I go back to the main Canva area and into my projects in Brouhaha, I can go into the printed area. I might have to refresh. There we go. The seasonal drink flyer is right there. Now they're all together. I don't have to worry about where they're at. Really nice. One other thing I wanted to show you on the PowerPoint, you probably saw the tote bag. It would be, there we go. So let me add a page. There we go. All right, so this is a blank tote. And on the main home screen, or even in the templates, everywhere you can look for print products, they have some actual products that you can play with in addition to paper goods like postcards, posters, all that kind of things. Tote bag was one of them. Same with water bottle, t-shirts. They have all of these different options that these are considered printing because you're putting a printed item on those products. So the tote bag I thought was a really good example because this might be, you know, if at this fake coffee shop and tea shop we sell bags of tea leaves and locally roasted beans, well, I'd love to also sell them a bag that they can put them in. The reusable bag, even better. They can use it for groceries or the next time they come back to get more beans. So it's a great little product visualization tool. And for this one, I just did a very simple, our logo that we made that first class. And then I just added a text box that has our website, or fake website, using the font and the colors that we've put together. And then I've made a little blank one here that you could use any of their templates and their designs that they have available. You could, of course, make your own. And obviously, like searching the word coffee for this class in particular, you're going to see some animated ones that will not work in this instance because this is a printed object. But how about this little coffee thing here? Makes sense. It's coffee. And just like with other things, it's going to have those smart guides that pop up when you've reached where it thinks the best printable area is. And I'm going to change that color to brown to match with all my other browns. I could also choose one of my other accent colors. Any of these would work. Actually, I'm going to go with that cranberry color. I really like it. And then I want to add some text on top because we're a business. We want people to get to our content. And a website's a really good one. So I want to make sure that this is legible. We're going to go with white. And make sure it fits on this little coffee sleeve here. It's very simple. Doesn't have to be too out there. But what this does is, this is another service through Canva, but you could always work with a local vendor or any other online vendor if you're looking for a product like this, like a water bottle, a tote bag, anything like that. It's up to you. But this is just a great tool to visualize or you can even use the service through Canva. And like in the flyer thing where it said print flyer, this one now says print tote bags. So when I click on that, it wants me to choose. That's just showing what it looks like. Choose the page I want. So I want page 2 because that's the one I just made. And that's going to ask you how many. And again, that's up to you to make these types of decisions. But depending on your business, what you want, you would make a decision on how many you want, and that's the cost. It tells you a little bit more information about what it is, how it's delivered, and you would go through your order process just like normal. You can also instead download your graphic that you made, and you could go to someone else who could possibly make it for you. Like if they already have blank tote bags that you could get your design printed on. So there's a few options that you can do that way. But I thought this was a really neat tool for you to visualize a product and what it would look like if you put information on it like that. And I like that they have other things like mugs. Like, of course, this is a coffee and tea shop. I would probably want to get some mugs that people could either buy or it's what they drink out of if they're in the shop. And then same with business cards, labels. I think I had an example of a label for pastry. Let me go back to my folder here. Yes. And thinking if I had coffee cake or muffins, you could make a label, or this could be a sticker. They have so many different options for you to choose from and play around with, which is really nice. So these are a few of the different printables and how you can even go from your social media content to a printable content, and which is just really handy to be able to do with a few presses of a button. Caitlin, have there been any questions so far?
Not yet, but everyone should feel free to ask.
Yes. If we don't have any questions, I can show you some additional resources for you to expand your knowledge of Canva, as well as some of our upcoming classes. So first off, to expand some of your skills, through Plano Public Library, we have resources such as LinkedIn Learning and Udemy, which I left the word video up there, and it should be for print marketing. But we have online resources through Plano Public Library with your library card. These are tens of thousands of online courses that you have direct access to. And once you have a card, there's no additional cost to use these online resources. Canva, of course, has their own design school and education area where you can learn more. And then Udemy, that same resource we were just talking about, has a 16-hour Canva course for you to go through if that is something that interests you, if you want to take a deeper dive into what we've been going on the last few weeks. And of course, places like YouTube, you can find all sorts of quality educational content on YouTube, including Plano Public Library's YouTube channel. But there's a lot of other experts online who very readily will put, oh, Canva made this update to this tool. Let's talk about it and explore it with you, which is really nice. So those are some of the online resources, and I'll show you how to get there. So the library's website, planolibrary.gov. We have, let me zoom out a little bit here. Oops, didn't mean to click on that. Okay, main page. We have a number of ways to get there, but one in particular is Research and Learn. And so that's how you would access Udemy and LinkedIn Learning, which we were just talking about. You can look at all of the databases, but Business and Career is going to be a really great page to start with, because that it would be a better focus for probably what you're using this for. And so these are all databases that are business and career focused that you have access to with your library card. So of course we've got LinkedIn Learning with a reference guide and videos you can watch to explore what that looks like. You can access it just through this link for LinkedIn Learning. And then Udemy, we were just talking about as well, also has a quick reference guide, and you would just click this button to access it. So those are two very valuable tools in terms of skill building that are available for free with the library with your library card. Another great tool are our classes. I mean, you're already in one now, and a few of you have taken the last few of these classes, but we have even more. We have hundreds of classes each season, and that's not including story time. Story time, we have a bunch weekly. So this is in addition to that. We have classes for all ages, and there's a few ways that you can get that information. One is just the online calendar that we have, and then we also have an Engage brochure. It is a printed brochure that we have you can pick up at the library, but the online version is interactive. So the one here is likely still our fall brochure that goes through the end of this month. But on our Engage with Us page, which under library, it's just under Learn, Engage with Us, we do have the spring interactive brochure. And when you click on that, I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. So it says right here, spring 2023. So this is January through April. These are all of the classes happening at the library. You can see what is going on, and you can just scroll down and you can see, okay, what we have for business. We have reference solution. If you're not sure what kind of business you want, we have classes for you to help for you to figure out how to make your business plan, funding options for small business, how to get your LinkedIn best suited for your business. And anything that has this little R next to it, it requires registration. And because this is interactive, you can just click on it and it opens the registration page for you. So you can just easily click on it, register. You'll get email confirmations that you've registered for it and you are good to go. Another program that you might be interested in if you are working on a small business in particular is our TWOs. It's Team Up for Entrepreneurial Success. This is a monthly networking group run by our SCORE mentors and library staff. And it meets monthly. There are different topics that experts come in and talk about, and you can meet other entrepreneurs to discuss any of these topics and more. There's a lot that you can do with the library that's absolutely fantastic. And in addition to browsing this Engage brochure, you can go straight to that calendar I was just talking about. So on our main website, we have that link to calendar. And this is what it looks like when you come up to it, which can look like a lot, especially because of all of our story times. That's where all these filters come into play. If you go under event category and business and career, it's just going to choose the events that are business and career focused. So we have Dallas SCORE mentors that do business mentoring for us for free. That's definitely something you should look into. Reference solutions, which I just showed you in the Engage brochure. Building your brand, which you might want to look into if you're not quite sure about your business brand. Essential soft skills, but if there's any of these that sound interesting, you just click on them. It tells you a bit more information, and if there's registration, you would click on the registration link. It would open it up, and you would register for it. If it's in person, it'll tell you when and what time per usual, and then it'll have a library location there listed. So those would all be there, and you could just easily register right there and be done. It's fantastic. So any of those business and career events, technology events, there's all sorts that are of interest and are available through the spring and just year round. We have more technology events coming up that you might be interested in. PDF basics, we were just talking about PDFs. If you're interested in learning how to start a podcast, any sort of video content, there's definitely plenty to look at. Take a minute, dive into it. If there's anything to register for, you could always just go ahead and register for it. And a lot of our virtual classes are recorded and up on the library's YouTube channel. So on YouTube, you can just search Plano Public Library. Right here, that is our little 5-star, our little 5-color star logo. And you can see we're streaming right now for this class. You can subscribe, and that would just mean you get notifications when new content is uploaded. But you can also just watch what we have up on our YouTube channel. You can see the upcoming live streams listed here, including that building your brand that I just opened up. You can click on the live button and it will show you, it says upcoming if it hasn't happened yet, and it'll have a timestamp here if it has already been recorded and uploaded. It's like 55 minutes, 59 minutes. They're generally about 45 minutes to an hour for a lot of these classes. So these are all classes that we have had. We've been doing virtual classes since, I don't know, about April 2020. And so we have a lot of content on here from a lot of different experts and professionals and library staff. So there's good stuff up here for you to get into. You can also just go to our regular videos. That'll be just more information about business resources, art exhibits, all sorts of stuff. So you don't have to subscribe, but that does give you notifications of when new content does go up, which is likely on a weekly basis, especially with these live classes. So you've learned a few things today about using Canva for different print tools, like making tote bags, making flyers, and how you can even use that to make additional printed items like business cards, labels, postcards, taking social media posts that you've already made and making them into printed materials, which is a time saver for sure. And then, of course, how to access additional learning tools through the library's website. And of course, if you have any questions about any of this, you can ask any library staff member, and they will happily show you how to access these tools. And if you need a little extra help, maybe it's just getting your account set up for any of these online tools, or you just want to explore a little bit further with one of our librarians, you can book a librarian. It's one-on-one, 30 minutes, and we can show you how to really get going on using these tools and using the library to increase your skills and get where you want to go. And if there aren't any other questions, that's really all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed this 4-part series. And again, you can see our previous recordings up on the library's YouTube channel. And then this one will be recorded and shared probably within the week, just because of the holidays coming up and the library will be closed. All right, well, I'm glad you all came today, and I hope you learned a few things, and I look forward to teaching this again sometime, and you all enjoy.